Hi, hello, welcome back to Lexi. Who cares? Fate Strange Fake is the best Fate anime ever created. And if you have not seen a majority of the other stuff that Type Moon has made, you will just not agree with me. But here's the thing, I have issues. So Type Moon took over my life for a couple years, if that wasn't obvious to anybody watching my videos. And what I can say about this anime is that anybody who is telling you that Fate Strange Fake is a good place to start because it's technically a different canon or whatever is just wrong. That is like a completely horrifically misjudged opinion about this anime because there are so many references to literally everything that Type Moon has done. Literally the first episode references Kitsyland from Mihoyo, and a dead apostle is just in this anime, which I did not know going into it, and they never like really explain what a dead apostle is. I think they offhandedly mention that it's a vampire, but even just saying that doesn't fully like measure the scope of what they really mean by that. They also use these random ass terms like reality marble, which to anybody who has not read Tsukihime or Mihoyo would mean absolutely nothing, and they never explain what a reality marble actually is. They just assume that you'll know, and they're right, I do know, and that's what I fucking love about this series, is that this is like the ultimate love letter to Fate, and it makes complete sense why this happened, because for anybody who doesn't know, Fate Strange Fake started as like an April Fool's fan fiction written by the same guy that created Baccano and Ra, which makes complete sense now in retrospect. I didn't know this until literally yesterday when I was halfway through the series, but I was always thinking it was kind of weird that there isn't a main character necessarily, just kind of follows like a whole bunch of people, and the second that I looked into it and found that out, everything just made complete sense to me. There are so many things that I have to say about this anime, and anybody who is saying that it's like hype moments and aura does not understand or didn't pick up on all of like the little like tidbits and references and things that were going on throughout this entire work. And I'm not really the kind of person that finds joy in convergence culture, which is basically like the Ready Player One sort of situation where they just throw things that you know at you, and that's supposed to be the interesting thing about the show. That's not what Fate Strange Fake is. It is its own story in its own right, and yes, you have to know kind of like a lot of lore that goes on within the Type Moon Nasuverse to even enjoy it in the first place, but the thing is, I think they knew that going in, because they don't really explain anything to you. They just assume that you'll know it, and in the context of the story, this also makes perfect sense, because what Fate Strange Fake kind of is, and if you have not seen the rest of like the Fate series, or like the main ones at least, you wouldn't really understand the power dynamics going on in this anime, because what this story is kind of like if you just had a really fucked up summoning during the Holy Grail War and created a fake, holy shit, a fake strange war, and every servant that got spawned in was basically equal, if not more powerful than Gilgamesh, because every single master associated with this war, aside from like one or two, is like equally fucked in the head. And I think for me, it kind of put into perspective how amateur the Fate's Day Night Holy Grail War was, because basically like half the masters in that war were just hormonal teenagers going to the same high school. And meanwhile, this war feels like a lot more of a like ordeal where all of a sudden you have some of the like top of the top people in the world that are all co-conspirating to create this fucking war in the middle of Las Vegas, Snowfield, whatever they want to call it. It's Las Vegas. Gilgamesh does a lot of gambling. TLDR, it would be very weird if every like 5 minutes we had to go on an entire like lore drop explanation by one of the characters when literally everybody involved in this war has made it their entire life's purpose to fulfill and maximize profit to a point that if they didn't know all of these terms from the get-go, that would be even weirder. So it's like you kind of have this weird conundrum where it's impossible to lore drop and explain these things because it would make the characters in question look like fucking retards. Something that I was kind of surprised about, and they even mentioned this in like the second episode, is that the masters are in some occasions stronger than the actual servants that are supposed to be the ones fighting. For instance, the Dead Apostle in the second episode has this entire fist fight with the overseer head church guy of the war, and they even mention that like this shouldn't be what's going on because it's fucking taking priority over the actual servants that are meant to be fighting and doing their thing. But the thing is with this anime is that the line is blurred so heavily between master and servant, because in a lot of situations the masters are doing some evil voodoo shit to like juice themselves up up and become equally as strong as the servants fighting in the war. There's so many things that go wrong with this Holy Grail war that wouldn't make sense to somebody who is starting from here, which is another reason that I don't think it's a good idea to ever start with this anime. I mean, for me, there was literally nothing that confused me about it, thankfully. Aside from maybe one or two characters where I wasn't sure if they were part of something that I hadn't read or if they were just original characters to Fate Strange Fake. But again, I think the best way you should approach this anime is if you were to imagine that Carnival Phantasm got like 100x the budget and became an actual like battle shonen or whatever with hype aura moments, because that's kind of what Fate Strange Fake is. And I do see some people that are kind of like critical of a lot of these shows that have been coming out recently, like Chainsaw Man's movie or Jujutsu Kaisen, where these kind of farm like these hype moments, I guess, rather than building an actual story. And I've seen a lot of people say that Fate Strange Fake kind of falls into that as well. But personally to me, and I don't know if this is like a crazy thing to say, but all three of those shows that I just listed are equally incredible, and there is like a lot of expertise behind the directing decisions and like the sounds and the general like animation and art styles for these anime. All three anime that I did list have a very similar art style. I don't know exactly how to explain it, but it focuses more on the general movement and line art as opposed to like overly relying on compositing and whatnot. Like there is very flat shading, and I mean, you can obviously see what I'm talking about with like Fate Strange Fake, and you even get to see like an actual comparison between Fate Strange Fake in the final episode, because they reanimate multiple scenes from Fate Zero just to showcase like this difference between how the UFO table adaptations look, which those look pretty in their own right, don't get me wrong. But for me, I think Fate Strange Fake does not only matches the light novel style to a T, but is also just the most incredibly animated and pretty Fate series that we have ever gotten. This was animated by A1 Pictures, and honestly, I feel like A1 has gotten a lot of criticism over the years because of things like Sword Art Online, but the one thing that A1 has always been incredible with is their animation. I don't know why people are surprised that A1 created this, because A1 has always had a very consistent and high bar for the kinds of anime that they're making. For people who don't know, Cloverworks was originally a branch of A1 that separated and formed as its own studio. So for people who are surprised that A1 actually has a lot of talent, now you know. Sawano also did the soundtrack for this, which I'm actually pretty happy about. I didn't know he was the guy on this until I was about halfway through the prelude OVA, when I had no other explanation than to think that the only person making this music was John Attack on Titan. I think what I appreciate about this more than anything is that over the years, anything Type Moon related has kind of been designated to either Kenji Kawai or more recently Yuki Kajiura, and we haven't really had much experimentation beyond that. So what I think Sawano did more than anything for this adaptation is it reinforced to me that this is a brand new take on the Fate series, completely separated tonally from the rest of the shows that have come out over the years, both in art style, animation, soundtrack. Literally everything about this anime is so separated from what Fate usually is, yet somehow it still keeps the same sort of like charm at the center of it, just because you can tell the person that wrote this is a massive Fate head. Not even Fate, just Type Moon head in general. Again, there is so much about this anime that is like unrelated to Fate and are like lore that you would only know if you had read Tsukihime and Mihoyo and Kara no Kyokai. And in addition to like the soundtrack, the sound design of this anime is fucking incredible. It is some of the best that I have ever heard. Like, I had to stop watching this on my phone to turn on my computer and like flick on my headphones, because those are the only things capable of like ear raping me with bliss. I probably lost a few years of my hearing on this because I had my shit turned up to like 200%, because every single fight had the most like satisfying beeps and boops, and just like, here, I'll do my best replication of the this fight with like Ishtar and Gilgamesh. It goes something like this. It's just that easy. I'm making this video mostly because none of my friends, even the ones that have seen a majority of Fate or Type Moonworks in general, will listen to me when I tell them that they need to watch this anime. And the barrier to entry is so fucking high that you will not be able to enjoy this to its full potential unless you have seen those things, because the entire time you're watching it, you'll just be wondering what the fuck a dead apostle is when they're just trying to tell you it's a vampire, except it's not really a vampire, like it's not a true ancestor. That's a whole different thing. So yes, I'm venting my thoughts on this anime. If it wasn't obvious, I am cracked out on a Celsius and some Taco Bell that I had at I literally drove to a Taco Bell at 11:23. That I made that time. That's just not true. I drove to a Taco Bell 2 hours ago though, and with the express purpose of watching the last episode of Fate Strange Fake to my 5-layer beefy burrito. Honestly, definitely one of the best experiences I've had as an anime fan in the last half decade, and it basically rivals, if not is on par with the Chainsaw Man Reze arc movie, which I don't know if I think I tried to make a video on that, but then I didn't because I got insecure or something. Anyways, I don't know how this is a TV anime because this has better production quality than most anime movies that I have seen. It is one of the most consistently incredible looking shows that I have literally ever seen. It's hard to express just how beautiful this anime is. I mean, obviously I'm flashing clips on you, so you should understand what I mean, but there is so much consistency to how good it looks as well that I prioritize equally as much as having 1 or 2 good Sakuga cuts in an episode, because even the scenes where not much is happening still has full-fledged animation. I remember distinctly, I was watching this one episode and they animate this street sign, and there had to be at least 20 or 30 frames in that fucking sign as it just slightly shifted rotation. Super slight. I'm gonna try to find it so I can put it on screen, but I was just taken aback that they even bothered animating this fucking street sign for no reason. It just looked good. There are so many things they do with the perspective of the characters, which again can only be done with this the immaculate planning and the art style here, because it is so flat that if you were to fuck up the line work, none of this would be possible. It just wouldn't look good and it wouldn't make sense. But they're able to play with these proportions and this scaling. It's literally they are changing the focal length of a camera, but it is an anime. That, it is fucking incredible that they have even managed to do. I need to stop gushing. You get the point. It looks good. Please watch Fate Strange Fake. And if you don't, fuck you.